Okay, guys, we're going to start going over Islam today. We'll finish this up tomorrow, but at least we're going to get a good start on it today. So, Islam is one of the youngest major religions in the world today, and it is the youngest Abrahamic religion by 500 to 600 years. So, because of its relative youth, we actually have a lot more documentation and stuff in the historical record around the origins of Islam than we do with the other Abrahamic religions, Judaism and Christianity. So, Islam first emerged in modern-day Saudi Arabia, based around the teachings of Muhammad, who is the major prophet within Islam. Muhammad spent most of his life in Mecca, in the city of Mecca, as a wealthy trader and a generally well-respected member of the community. However, in 613, Muhammad began preaching in Mecca, claiming that he was being spoken to and was receiving visions from God and the angel Gabriel, and he began preaching what he claimed that God was showing him and telling him. And over here, you can see Mecca down here on the towards the middle of the western part of Saudi Arabia. And this is a picture of the Kaaba shrine in present-day Mecca, one of the holiest sites in all of Islam. Okay. Muhammad preached in Mecca for about 9 years until he ultimately came to the attention of the city leaders. And this resulted in him being labeled as dangerous and Muhammad and his followers being viewed as a threat to the prosperity and the strength of the city. And this was because Mecca was originally a major holy city and pilgrimage spot for a polytheistic religion in the area. And there were a lot of polytheistic temples and shrines and places of worship there that would attract a lot of pilgrims to come from all over to visit Mecca, to visit these sites. And as a result of all these pilgrims coming and spending their money in Mecca, Mecca became a really wealthy city. And also, because of its status as a holy city and a place of all these holy sites, Mecca was also a really prominent cultural center as well. And the city leaders viewed Muhammad's teachings as a threat to that because Muhammad was preaching monotheism, which ran counter to the main polytheistic religion that Mecca kind of catered to. And as a result, in the year 622, Muhammad faced persecution by the city leaders. They were taking steps to arrest him. And in response to this, Muhammad and his followers fled from Mecca and traveled to the city of Medina in northern Saudi Arabia. While in Medina, Muhammad spent 8 years in Medina, preaching and gathering more and more and more followers and refining his message, culminating in the year 630, when Muhammad and his followers returned to Mecca and conquered the city in a relatively bloodless conquest. Muhammad showed up with such massive numbers on his side that the city leaders just surrendered. And after seizing the city, Muhammad and his followers destroyed the pagan sites at Mecca, and Mecca became the capital of this new religion, Islam, and the center of its new government, the Islamic Caliphate, which Muhammad then took steps to spread and expand throughout the remainder of his life. And if you look at this map down here on the left-hand side, on the western side of Saudi Arabia, Muhammad had conquered that territory before his death. But as you can see, following Muhammad's death, Islam and the Islamic Caliphate spread pretty far, again, encompassing most of the Middle East and even getting over into North Africa. Now, if we're going to look at some of the core principles of Islam, what it was that Muhammad was teaching and what his followers believed, we'll notice that there are a number of similarities between Islam and the other two Abrahamic religions, Christianity and Judaism. And Islam kind of blends the perspectives of both of these. Whereas in Judaism, the emphasis is on the culture and the lifestyle, and in Christianity, the emphasis is on the spiritual elements, Islam emphasizes both to a pretty high degree. So Islam is a monotheistic religion, like Christianity and like Judaism. Muslims worship one God. And like Christianity and like Judaism, Islam is an Abrahamic religion, meaning Muslims worship the God of Abraham. The foundation of what it effectively means to practice Islam or be a good Muslim is the 5 pillars of Islam, which we'll go over later in a minute. One of the defining aspects of Islam as well is the belief that all followers are equal in the eyes of God. And I think this is an element kind of similar to Christianity that made Islam really popular with especially the poor and the lower class. This belief that it did not really matter what class you were, how wealthy you were, what your occupation was, what your race was, or what your family did, where you were from. None of that mattered. Islam preaches that as long as you are a Muslim, God views you at the same level as all other Muslims. And I think that's an element that would really contribute to making this an attractive religion for the poor, which, like Christianity, Islam was initially really popular with the poor. Islam is also defined by this notion of submission, this belief that followers must effectively submit to the will of God. Islam is the Arabic word that literally means submission. And within Islam, there's a much bigger gap, I would argue, between humans and God. Islam does not have the Christian perspective of a more paternal God, where God is effectively a father figure and humans are effectively his children. Islam is much more, Islam argues that humans have a more distant relationship with God, and the relationship is much more of master and servant. And if you serve your master, in this case God, well, you'll be rewarded for it. Like Christianity and Judaism, Islam also utilizes a holy book, in this case, the Quran. Although, unlike the Bible, which effectively takes the Jewish Torah, just adds stuff onto it, the Quran is its own thing, even though it does discuss pretty similar topics that are addressed in the Bible and the Torah. The Quran does not just add on to the Bible or add on to the Torah. The Quran starts kind of from scratch and builds off of that. And what's also pretty different from Christianity and Judaism is the emphasis on reading the Quran in its original text. So unlike the Bible, which most sects and branches of Christianity believe, you don't have to use or read the original text. You can use a translation and understand it fine. Muslims argue that it's impossible to truly understand the Quran unless you're reading it in the original language that it was written in. In this case, it'd be Arabic. And the argument was that, or the mindset behind this is that, well, God spoke to Muhammad in Arabic, and Muhammad literally just wrote down what he was told by God. So the mindset is that this would literally be the word of God. And in order to fully understand it, you have to read it in the language it was actually spoken in. And lastly, Muslims also do believe in an afterlife, and it's pretty similar to the Christian notion of an afterlife, that there's a heaven, there's a hell. Now, how you get there would be different than in Christianity, obviously, but the general concept is pretty similar. Okay. And we'll finish up today with a look at the 5 pillars of Islam. This is effectively a list or 5 things that Muslims must do over the course of their life in order to effectively practice Islam. So the first pillar is the faith pillar, where a person must declare and believe there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. And Allah here is the Arabic word for God. So Muslims may refer to God as Allah, but that's just because Allah means God in Arabic. Allah is not the name of the Islamic God. But yeah, and this is the process. This is also the process of how one converts to Islam as well. So, like Christianity, Islam is a proselytizing religion, meaning that Muslims actively seek out additional converts. And like Christianity, Islam is really good at encouraging people and winning over converts. And also, like Christianity, it's pretty quick and really easy and simple to convert to. It's radically different from Judaism, which involves years of study and learning, as well as special permission from a rabbi in order to convert to. With Islam, Islam is very easy to convert to, and that kind of reflects that it's a proselytizing religion trying to encourage more people to convert to it. The second pillar is the prayer pillar, where followers must pray towards Mecca 5 times a day. And in Muslim countries, these are usually at set intervals throughout the day, where people will generally at least attempt to go to a mosque for their prayer and then go back to work or whatever they were doing. The third pillar is the alms pillar, where Muslims must donate money to the poor. However, there is a caveat to this pillar, where you would only be expected to donate money if you could afford to do so. If you yourself were too poor to be able to afford to donate money, then you would not be expected to donate. But if you were financially able, then you'd be expected to donate. The fourth pillar is the fasting pillar, which states that Muslims must fast during the day during the holy month of Ramadan. And when we say fasting, they're from sunup to sundown during Ramadan. Muslims are not allowed to eat or drink or really consume anything. And the mindset is that this is effectively a sign of their devotion to God. They're willing to endure physical discomfort and forego some of their physical needs out of dedication to God. Now, again, the fasting only applies during when the sun is up. When the sun is down, then you can eat and you can drink. But when the sun is up, you're not supposed to fast. And like with the alms pillar, though, there is a caveat to the fasting pillar, where you are not expected to fast if it is too dangerous for you to do so. If you are not physically able to fast, so like if you're an old person, if you're sick, if you're a little kid, or like if you're a pregnant woman, you would not be expected to fast because it would be too unhealthy for you to go that long without eating. But if you were relatively healthy, then you'd be expected to fast. So all of us, for example, we would more than likely be expected to fast. Okay? And the last pillar is the pilgrimage pillar, where all who are able must make the Hajj, or the pilgrimage to Mecca, at least once in their lifetime. Now, again, when I say those who are able, it means those who are wealthy enough that they can afford to travel, and those who are physically able to travel are expected to go to Mecca. Again, if a person can't afford it or is like disabled and can't travel that far, they would not be expected to make the Hajj. But if you were able to do so, both financially and physically, you would be expected to go to Mecca just at least once in your life. Okay, so we've gone over kind of the main philosophy and the origins of Islam. Tomorrow we'll look at how the Islamic Caliphate developed after Muhammad's death and kind of the history surrounding that and how the main branches of Islam developed after that. All right, so I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Okay.